I know a lot of people think I'm getting old or whatever. I'm 42 years old.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the physique update of James Hollingshead, less than 3 weeks out of this upcoming Detroit Pro. So the plan has been set kind of differently for this time around. And even if you are the biggest fan of James Hollingshead, I have to say it would be total dishonesty if you cannot say that James did not even look close to his personal best at this past Arnold, especially at the prejudging. At the finals, however, he was quite improved, and he looked a lot better than the prejudging, but still that wasn't good enough to move past Sean Carida, who by the way placed top 7 at the Arnold this year, 1 place ahead of James. And that is something that James wasn't expecting at all. Now some people out there had him as high as top 4, which just wasn't very realistic. In no possible scenario does James beat a guy like Brendan Carey, a former Miss Olympia, who not only has the size, but the shape to compete against the best of the best in the world, even at the age of 42, even now. And as much as I respect both James and his coach Stefan, I have got to say Stefan has a lot to do with setting up such high expectations. Now I sincerely hope that this was a missed peak, because that is something these guys can fix in a few weeks' time. So the question right now is that, can James win in Detroit? Well, he has a far better chance fighting for the top spot here than he had the chance of placing top 4 at this past Arnold. And all Stefan, his coach, mentioned was that this was their first show together, and things will be a lot better for this upcoming show, and things are gonna get better and better from this point onwards. So it seems like this is gonna be a long season for James, as at one point during the last few weeks, he did mention that he's gonna be doing the first ever Pittsburgh Pro as well. But James's best chances of qualifying for Miss Olympia this year, they are at these 2 upcoming shows, Detroit and FIBO, Germany. So Hostel just dropped some Sherpa-lined zip-up hoodies and forced hooded jackets. So do check them out and use the code FAZI10 to get 10% extra discount. So if you guys are wondering what your reigning Miss Olympia is up to these days, well, for the next 8 weeks or so, Samson Dauda is gonna live like a normal human being. And the man isn't gonna care about being the best bodybuilder in the world right now. Now, if you have been following Samson for some years now, you know the man always takes some time off, especially after all these big shows. But normally Samson's season, that ends after the Arnold, because the man has been doing every single Miss Olympia and the Arnold since 2022. And as per Samson Dauda, him taking this time off, that is the biggest reason why he has made such great progress show after show. And this loss at this past Arnold, that just isn't gonna change his mindset. The man still got away with $150,000 in the prize money for placing second, which is still more than what the winner of this upcoming Dubai Pro is gonna get, which is $140K. So it is so great to see Samson totally at peace with that decision of his of doing this year's Arnold. Now, it was the all-time best version of Derek, but do not forget, Samson Dauda still pushed him to his absolute limits, especially at the finals. Just 1 point separated both these guys, and this wasn't the best version of Samson. He wasn't in that same kind of condition that we saw from him at the Olympia last year. So maybe something initially went wrong with Samson Dauda during that loading process, especially with his stomach, and that is why he was struggling. And just a tiny bit in keeping his midsection tight, especially at the prejudging. So Samson Dauda is gonna start this offseason at the end of May, and we all know he doesn't need any more size. He was 306 pounds on the stage at this past Arnold, and maybe if he was, let's say, 5 to 10 pounds lighter, the look could have been totally different. But what else could Samson Dauda do to get truly peeled? He was eating only 3 whole eggs in the breakfast, and his calories were also very less for a guy who weighs 300 pounds. So there was a lot of chatter regarding Brendan Carey and his retirement, that if he's unable to perform at this year's Arnold, then this might be the final year of Brendan Carey as a combative pro and a former Miss Olympia champion. But he came to this year's Arnold with a bang. So this was definitely one of the better packages that we saw from Brendan on the stage in the past couple of years. I mean, the man was big, round, 3D, bubbly, and he was also in a superb condition.
A new package. Some people, think it's one of my best looks, but it's definitely a different look than I brought to the stage. Conditioning, hardness, grainy.
So Brandon talked about the results in detail on his YouTube channel from this past Arnold, also confirming that he's gonna be doing the Masters Olympia this year and tie the record of Dexter Jackson, because Dexter is the only guy who has won that Miss Olympia title as well as the Masters Olympia title.
Preparing to do the Masters Olympia, do a little bit off season with my coach, which I haven't had, Justin. Getting prepared for that show, coming in really much better.
Now with that confirmation in place, I don't think Kai Green will try and do this show, as he's gonna get smoked. Kai being 50 years old, almost 10 years away from the stage, he stands no chance against a seasoned veteran who has been continuously competing for the last decade or so. Now we all applauded Derek on making one of the greatest comebacks in the bodybuilding history at this past Arnold, but Brandon also deserves full credit on showing up in such a phenomenal condition at this year's Arnold, something that the people just weren't expecting, especially after he placed ninth at the Olympia last year. So the good news for the fans of Brandon Curry is that the man isn't looking to retire anytime soon.
I know a lot of people think I'm getting old, whatever. I'm 42 years old, but I'm still healthy, still enjoying what I do. The joints feel good, and I love bodybuilding. I'm still able to compete at a high level. So.
Next up, we have a 9 weeks out physique update from Michael Krizo. So Krizo has now made it official that he's doing this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro, which is gonna be a very challenging show for his comeback, simply because of the depth of the competition at this show. Because as of right now, neither Martin nor Nick Walker, they have committed to doing the New York Pro, but we all will be shocked to see if they pass up on that opportunity to win another $30,000 with just one more week of dieting. So guys like Michael Krizo, they will surely be hoping that these two guys, they skip the New York Pro, as that is gonna be a better chance for Krizo to earn his Olympia spot, as Krizo has beaten Regan before, and that was at the Olympia back in 2023, and maybe he can still overpower a guy like Regan with his size, with his mass, and with that freakiness that he carries. So did Krizo had enough time to fully recover and get ready for a big show? Well, that is the big question. So Krizo will most probably be in a superb condition at this upcoming show. In fact, ever since Krizo started competing, he has been really off just once, which was last year in Spain, but he was dealing with an injury at that time. So he's working with a big time coach, George Farah this time, and George Farah has coached some of the legends of the game, and based on this 9 weeks out condition, Krizo actually looks ahead of the schedule. Now I have got to be very honest here. Most of us will be very surprised if Krizo shows up with a bear looking back here. So he's obviously competing after almost 1 year, but most of that time, that was just spent in recovering from that injury. So finally a glimpse of Martin-Fitzwater. This guy is a total animal, especially in the gym, and you watch any of his workouts, you immediately get the feeling that he loves to train super hard and heavy. So Branch Warren used to train extremely heavy, but with a sloppy form. But that just worked wonderfully for him, for Branch. And Martin did work with Branch Warren for some years. And maybe it was good that Martin stepped away from that kind of training style, as not everyone can sustain that kind of training workout and that kind of beating day in and day out. So Martin has been very quiet about this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro prep. He hasn't responded to the mutant, not even once. And maybe he's gonna make his physique do all the talking on the stage. Now Nick Walker claiming that it is gonna be easy work for him to beat a guy like Martin, the fourth best bodybuilder in the world right now. That, I have got to say, is a bit disrespectful. No matter what happens, that just isn't gonna be an easy show to win for either of these guys. And all we need to see is Martin nail his look the same way as he did for the Olympia last year. The man simply looked unbelievable at the Olympia 2024, and not even Nick can say that he was able to place top 4 in the world on his first try. But Martin did that. Although Martin and his team, they did not want to play the size game, but he has to be a few pounds heavier, as they're up against a big freak of nature, a mass monster, who knows everything is on the line for him at this upcoming Pittsburgh Pro. Now one thing is certain, Martin is gonna be absolutely peeled, as that is his biggest strength. So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video, and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.